The manicured fingernail came down on the line that said W. Booker, staff entry, and crossed it out in a single clean stroke. Priya Velasquez, 26, 3 months into her first real job, stood 3 feet from the desk in the wood-paneled prep room of the Crescent Bay Hotel ballroom and watched it happen. She had the gala clipboard in her hands. She did not put it down. She did not say anything. She had been told 100 times in 3 months that her job as the junior board member was to listen and to learn and to not yet speak. Helena Ridge, the new chair, sat behind the desk in a slate-sheath dress that fit her like a press release. She was 34. She had been appointed to the chair seat by the new board majority 8 weeks earlier to lead what they were calling a foundation rebrand. She did not look up from the list as she crossed the line. She said, mildly, almost as an afterthought, that it was a donor evening, and that a janitor in the photographs would distract from the visual story they were trying to tell on Monday morning's press materials. She closed the binder. The witness narration sits with Priya's silence for a beat. Priya knew the name W. Booker. She had seen Wyatt Booker for 3 months in the break room of the Regional Foundation building, where he came in at 5 in the morning to start his shift, and where she sometimes came in at 6 because she could not yet sleep through her nerves. She had never spoken to him beyond a nod and a quiet good morning. She had seen him sit at a wobble-legged folding table and eat oatmeal from a thermos with a folded paper napkin on his knee. She had seen the picture in his locker once by accident when she had walked past his open door. A woman with quiet eyes and dark hair, a little girl on her lap. Helena said, "Make sure the hotel staff entrance is clear, please. We don't want anyone wandering up the back stairs in coveralls." Priya nodded. She did not say anything. 2 floors below, in a wood-paneled hotel janitor's closet that smelled of pine cleaner and starch, Wyatt Booker was kneeling on the carpet in a borrowed navy suit, tying a small white ribbon into the back of his daughter Tess's dress. She was 9. She was wearing a pale green dress that had been her mother's once, taken in for her by her aunt with careful, patient stitches. Her hair was braided down her back. She was holding very still because her father had asked her to, and because she had been waiting for tonight for as long as she could remember. He finished the ribbon. He smoothed her hair. He stood up. He told her she looked like her mother. She said, quiet, "Will they really say her name out loud?" He said, "Yes. The lady with the microphone says it every year. It's how they finish." The hotel manager came around the corner then, holding a printed slip in his hand, and his face was the face of a man being asked to deliver news that he hated. He apologized first. He apologized twice. He said the new chair had pulled the staff entry pass at the last minute, and that he was very sorry, but the doorman could not let him through the velvet rope to the donor floor. Wyatt's face did not move. He thanked the manager. He told him no harm done. He knelt down level with his daughter and looked her in the eye and said, calm, that they would listen from a back row instead, where they could still see the brass when it was carried in. He said the words would still travel that far. He said Tess could put her palm on the brass after when the room was emptier. She nodded. He carried her, ribbon and all, past the velvet rope at the rear of the ballroom and into 2 folding chairs by the service door without raising his voice or his eyes. He set her down. He folded her hand into his. They waited. The ballroom filled. Priya stood by the chair on the dais with her clipboard. She watched the foundation's new board rebrand reel flicker through 5 minutes of stock footage of children and beakers and clean tile floors. She watched the new donor cap policy go up on the screen. She watched Helena thank the room for its courage in setting limits. She watched the donor cap that would, by next month, cut funding to the pediatric blood disorder research line at the Children's Hospital across the river. She did not look at the back of the room. She could not. The witness narration steps now to Eileen Marsh. Eileen was 62. She had been the gala's auctioneer for 9 years. She had a low, warm voice and a way of standing on a stage that made a ballroom decide to listen. Before she had been an auctioneer, she had been a hospice nurse in the pediatric ward of the very hospital this foundation funded. She had walked a woman named Marin Annette Booker through her last 3 weeks of life 13 years earlier. She had held the hand of a 7-month-old daughter named Tessa Marin Booker while the mother slept. She had never forgotten either of their names. Eileen climbed the 3 steps to the dais. She crossed to the brass-mounted plaque that the foundation moved from the lobby to the stage once a year for the reading. The plaque was simple, dark walnut, brass letters. The room did not pay it close attention most years. The new board in particular had not paid it any attention at all. Eileen set both hands lightly on the frame. She lifted the microphone. She read what she had read every year for 9 years, slowly, the way the foundation's tradition asked. Established, she said, in loving memory of Marin Annette Booker, by her husband, January 2014. The room did not move at first. Priya, standing by the chair on the dais, saw Helena Ridge's face go white in stages, first the lips, then the cheeks, then a pause around the eyes as though her face were trying to remember how to wear an expression. Helena did not look at the plaque. She did not look at Eileen. She looked very slowly at the back of the room. Wyatt was on his feet by then. He did not know he had stood. Tess was on her feet beside him with her small hand still in his. Eileen, on the dais, set the microphone down on the lectern with a soft click. The room heard the click because the room had gone silent. She came down off the stage. The witness narration follows her. Eileen walked the long aisle in heels she had worn for 9 galas. She did not hurry. She did not perform. She crossed past the donor tables and past the press table and past the 2 video cameras of the rebrand crew. She stopped in front of Wyatt and his daughter at the back row. She put her hand under his elbow and her other hand very gently on Tess's shoulder. "Mr. Booker," she said, "would you and Tess come with me, please?" He did not speak. He nodded once. She walked them up the long aisle. The room did not breathe. The witness narration through Priya now watches every face turn. The donors saw it. The press table saw it. The video cameras saw it. The new board majority saw it. Helena Ridge saw it. The little girl in the pale green dress walked the length of the ballroom on her father's hand, her braid down her back, and went up the 3 steps to the dais one careful step at a time. Eileen lifted Tess so she could reach. Tess set her small palm on the brass over the letters of her mother's name. She did not say anything. She did not need to. Eileen turned and faced the room. "For those of you who are new to this foundation," she said, gently, "this house was opened 13 years ago with a single founding gift of $1.4 million. The gift was given by a man who had just lost his wife to a rare blood disorder. He gave every dollar of her insurance settlement. He asked for no recognition. He asked only that her name be carved on the plaque and that the pediatric research line bear her initials. He did not give us his name then. He does not need to give it to us tonight." She paused. She let the room sit. "I knew her," she said. "I sat with her at the end, and I have served at the door of his house in his name every year for 9 years without ever telling him I recognized him." The witness narration steps then to Otis Pham. Otis was 70. He was the foundation's outgoing chair. He had voted against the donor cap in committee 3 weeks earlier and had lost the vote 5-2. He was, the room would later say, the only board member with the spine to do what he did next. He stood up at his table. He walked to the dais. He took the microphone from the lectern. He turned to the room. "I move," he said, "that the donor cap announced this evening be rescinded by acclamation, effective tonight, and that the pediatric blood disorder research line be endowed in perpetuity in the name on this plaque." A man at the 2nd donor table said, "Second." A woman at the 4th donor table said, "Aye." The room said aye. The room kept saying aye. The witness narration, through Priya on the dais, hears it travel across the tables like a slow, patient wave. The press table wrote it down. The video cameras kept rolling. Helena Ridge sat at her seat in the front row in her slate sheath dress and looked at her own hands. Otis Pham finished the motion with the sentence the foundation's bylaws required, and the room finished it with him. Wyatt did not speak. He stood on the dais beside his daughter with Eileen on the other side and the brass plaque between them. He nodded once. The witness narration through Priya watches him do nothing else. He does not gloat. He does not weep. He does not say a single word about 13 years of a janitor's shift in the basement of the building he had built with his wife's last gift. He nods. He keeps his daughter's hand in his. It is Priya who speaks first. She does not plan to. She stands by the chair on the dais and feels the silence, and feels the 3 months of swallowing she has done, and feels the line her chair drew across the name in the prep room at 5:40 in the evening, and she sets her clipboard down on the floor at her feet, and she walks to the lectern. "I'd like to say something, please," she said. "I'm Priya Velasquez. I'm the junior board member. I started in March. I was in the prep room this evening at 5:40 p.m. when a member of this board crossed Mr. Booker's name off the gala guest list because she did not believe a janitor belonged in the photographs. I watched it happen. I did not speak. I am sorry, I should have spoken." She did not name Helena. She did not need to. The witness narration sees Helena Ridge stand up at her seat in her slate-sheath dress. She is calm. She is composed. She is, the narration sees, more dignified than her 3 months of decisions have earned her the right to look. She steps out from behind her table. She crosses to the lectern. She takes the microphone from Priya gently. She faces the room. "That was me," she said. "I am the board member Ms. Velasquez referred to. I did not know Mr. Booker's relationship to this foundation. I will say that I should not have needed to know it to treat him with respect. I will be submitting my resignation in writing to Mr. Pham tonight. Thank you." She set the microphone down. She walked out of the ballroom without making a scene, without crying, without looking at Wyatt. The witness narration, through Priya, watches her go and feels, almost against her will, a flicker of something like respect for a woman who has, in the space of 20 minutes, learned a lesson on the floor of a ballroom in front of 48 donors and 2 press cameras. The room is left with Wyatt and his daughter and Eileen and the brass. The gala continues. It does not feel like the same gala. The witness narration, through Otis Pham now, watches Wyatt and Tess be ushered to a table at the front. He watches Otis offer Wyatt a seat on the foundation board and watches Wyatt decline. He watches Wyatt ask only that he keep his janitor's shift in the building, because it is the shift that lets him be home when his daughter gets off the school bus. Otis does not argue. Otis nods. Wyatt asks one other thing. He asks if Tess might keep the pale green dress on for a photograph in front of the brass before they leave. Eileen takes the photograph herself, with her own phone, in the back of the ballroom after the donors have gone home. Tess stands in front of the plaque with her palm on her mother's name. Wyatt stands behind her with his hand on her shoulder. He is not in his suit anymore. He is in his work coat. He went and got it from the janitor's closet because his daughter was getting cold. The next morning at 5:15, Wyatt Booker walked into the night shift break room of the Foundation's regional building in his work coat, and his work boots, and a folded napkin in his pocket, because his daughter had drawn a heart on it the night before. There was a typed envelope on top of his janitor's cart. It was Helena Ridge's resignation, addressed to him. He read it standing up. He did not sit. The letter was 2 paragraphs long. The second paragraph did not ask for anything back. It asked only that the foundation continue, and that the pediatric research line carry forward, and that Mr. Booker be allowed, for as long as he wanted it, the dignity of an ordinary morning shift in a building that he had built with a love no one had thought to look for. He folded the letter. He clocked in. The witness narration steps a year forward to a Saturday morning at the Children's Hospital across the river, where Eileen Marsh stands in the corridor outside the pediatric research wing and watches a small girl in a pale green coat walk her father by the hand down to a brass plaque that has been newly installed on the corridor wall. Tess is 10 now. She is taller. She still puts her palm on the brass. She still says nothing. Eileen, watching them from the corridor, will tell Tess one day, walking her to the elevator after the visit, the line that closes the story without closing the door. "Your mother would be very proud of your father," she will say. "She always knew." The witness narration ends on the word knew. The worth that the new board strike-through had tried to write out of the room was a worth that had never been hidden from the people who had loved Marin Annette Booker. It had only been hidden from the people who had thought they ran the room. The brass on the wall did the talking on the night that mattered. The man who had carved his wife's name into it 13 years earlier in silence kept his shift in the basement of the building he had built, and walked his daughter home at 4:30 in the afternoon when the school bus stopped at the end of the gravel road. That, the witness will say, is the quiet kind of worth that holds a foundation up. That is the kind of man whose name a room learns by surprise. That is the kind of family the brass has remembered all along.